Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Radha-radha-dayini. Radha-radha-dayini. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Shilakankanakalaye. Shilakankanakalaye. Ito Narsinga Parato Narsinga. Narsinga Parato Narsinga. Yato yami tato Narsinga. Yato yami tato Narsinga. Narsinga Hidaye Narsinga. Narsinga Hidaye Narsinga. Namadim Sharanam Prapade. Narsinga Madim Sharanam Prapade. Madim Sharanam Prapade. Narsinga Madim Sharanam Prapade. Savakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adhuta Shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Dhanubinda. Keshavadeta Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Kamala Vare Nakam Adhuta Shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Dhanubinda. Keshavadeta Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Avakara Kamala Vare Nakam Adhuta Shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Dhanubinda. Keshavadeta Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Kamala Vare Nakam Adhuta Shringam. Dalita Hiranyakashipu Dhanubinda. Keshavadeta Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Keshavadeta Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Keshavadeta Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jai Jagadish Hare. Jaya Narsingadev, 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 Jaya Narsingadev, Jaya Narsingadev, 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 Jaya Narsingadev, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Welcome to our class, dear devotees. Today is Tuesday, and good to have Indiyavali Mataji back with us here. And we'll get started with how are you feeling today? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 means bad and 10 means very good. How are you feeling? Let's see. Sukamal Radhe Mataji is feeling a 10. That's good. Okay, Sadhana is at a 9. Indiyavali is a 10, just returned from Rhode Island. Sutapa is a 10. Wow, that's a good class. All right, so we'll get started after the short prayers to the spiritual master. And thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Facebook watchers. Himlada Mataji, thank you. And please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, chapter 3 is which yoga chapter 3 is talking about? Let's do some finger exercise. And Sukumal Radhe Mataji says Karma Yoga. Archana agrees with her. And let's see some more nimble fingers here. Sutapa says Karma Yoga. All right, then Karma Yoga, it is chapter number 3. And so we have been talking about no karma, where Arjun was saying, I will not do any work, to Krishna, gradually walking him through the stages. And basically, we have been talking about sakam karma, where you have some desires to enjoy the material world. And Krishna is telling him that, okay, if you want to get this, then bring in an element of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your endeavors to ask for newer things and materialistic enjoyments, and raise your consciousness and your karma to a higher level. From today onwards, we're going to talk about, so that is sakam karma. We have kama, there is some desire, but you're doing karma for Krishna. And then we will be raised to the higher planet, a higher level, which is nishkam karma, where you are not focusing on the results of the work. So that's the verse for today. And let's get going. It is verse number 17. Very nice. So here in 16, there's a comparison between 17 and 16. So that's why I'm going to read 16 also. So he's saying that, my dear Arjuna, one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice thus established by the Vedas suddenly leads a life full of sin, right? Living only for the satisfaction of senses, such a person lives in vain. So that was one. And now today he's going to say, but for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty, right? And let's go and look at the Sanskrit now for this verse. Yastva atmaratir eva syad atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. Yastva atmaratir eva syad atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. Yasto atmaratir eva syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. Yaha, one who. So in the previous verse we talked about one who. Now again here's the other one. One who, to, but, atmaratihi, taking pleasure in the self, eva, certainly, syat, remains, atmatriptaha, self-illuminated, cha, and, manavaha, a man, atmani, in himself, eva, only, cha, and, santushtaha, perfectly satiated, tasya, his, karyam, duty, na, does not, vidyate, exist. So, translation by Srila Prabhupada. For one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Okay, now how many times has the word self appeared in this translation? Anybody typing, telling me how many times? So Kumal Radhe knows how to count. 3. Okay, so there's self and self and self. Now, do you notice there's a difference between the selves there? And what is the difference? So Kumal Radhe Mataji is nodding her head. And what is the difference? Did others also notice that? Okay, Varsha Malik says 3 selves. That is good. And I'm looking at for the difference. What's the difference? Is there a difference between them or no? Okay, Sukumalat is typing away. Let's wait for an answer. Looks like a long answer is coming from there. Okay. The self, so there is self, and there's the word self, and then there's the word self-realization. Okay. But even if you look at the self there, one self is written with the uppercase S, and one self is written with the lowercase l. The self-realization has a lowercase self. So there's self and then the self. There's a small self and there's the big self, right? So the big self, the self that starts with the uppercase S is Krishna, the supreme, that self, like that. Okay. A person who is fully Krishna conscious and is fully satisfied by his acts in Krishna consciousness no longer has any duty to perform. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed, an act of many, many thousands of yajna performances. By such clearing of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in relationship with the Supreme. His duty thus becomes self-illuminated by the grace of the Lord, and therefore he no longer has any obligations to the Vedic injunctions. Such a Krishna conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, women, and similar infatuations. Oh, that's it. So some very interesting words here. Due to his being Krishna conscious, because he's doing everything for the pleasure of the Supreme Self. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed. An effect of many, many thousands of yajna performances. So what kind of yajna performance are these thousands of yajna performances? What do you think that is? What yajna is being happening there? Thousands of yajna performances. What yajna do you think they have done? Ashwamedha yajna, Rajasuya yajna, So they have done devotional service. But how have they done devotional service? Yajna. Which yajna have they done? It's the effect of many, many thousands of yajna performances. Yeah, so Varshana Mataji, that's the effect of the yajna. But what yajna have they done, do you think? It says that it's the effect of doing thousands of yajna performances. There's some performance going on there, right? So which yajna do you think it is? By chanting, says Varshana Mataji. What about those who did the Rajsuya Yagyas? What about those who do the Ashwamedha Yagya? What about those? They won't get any cleansing? Cleansing will happen? Yes, says Sukumal Mataji, and she's right. So it depends on the yuga in which you are living. In Satyuga, the yajna will be the yajna of meditation. So all the thoughts, you will sacrifice your thoughts in the meditation, in the pit of the meditation. All nonsense thoughts, you're going to put them there, right? Kali Yuga, then Treta, Dwapar, like that. So chanting is the yajna for our age. And so it's fine. People would have done thousands of yagyas if they were living in one of the earlier yugas, and that's fine. It could be thousands of yagyas there. And for us, chanting could be happening thousands of times for us also over a period of lifetime. So he's saying that, because you become, and you that when you become Krishna conscious through all these purificatory activities, it could be some sort of a yajna that you're doing, and it could be doing your prescribed duties. And of course, our prescribed duty here is to chant the holy names of the Lord in Kali Yuga. You could be all doing that. So by such clearing of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in relationship with the Supreme. And what is our eternal position in relationship with the Supreme? What do you think? After doing all these yagyas, 40 years is what Prabhupada once said, that you have to chant for 40 years. And then, so what do you realize that, what is your relationship? And Archana Mataji says that you realize that your relationship with Krishna is that you are an eternal servitor. Jivera Swarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. Once you understand my Swarup, and that is what my relationship is. And so then, once you realize the relationship, you work in a very different way. You start to operate in a very, very different way. Because now you are a servant, and a true servant, right? Give me an example of a good servant from our scriptures. A very good servant. Hanuman, says Sadhana Mataji, and she's right, right? So what do they do? So there's a very nice verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. It comes in second canto, 8th chapter, Parikshit Maharaj. And Sukdev Goswami, that conversation. And so let's go there. So he says, Dhatatma Purusha Krishna, Padamulam Namunchati, Mukta Sarva Parikleshaha, Pantha Swa Sharanam Yatha. It's a very, very beautiful words, and translates to a pure devotee of the Lord whose heart has once been cleansed by the process of devotional service. And it could be any process. There are 9 processes of devotional service, right? And depending on the yuga, you could be doing any of the, focusing on any one of them or all of them. By the process of devotional service, never relinquishes the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, because he has realized his relationship with Krishna and he knows that's where he belongs. And those lotus feet of Krishna, Nama Pankajangre, right? We read that verse. For they fully satisfy him. And such a nice analogy is giving here. As a traveler is satisfied at home after a troubled journey. And most of the times, ladies, I can tell you from my days when I was young, girls used to wear high heel shoes, and like they were 4 inches, 5 inches, or 6 inches tall shoes like that. And Vidyavali is smiling, she remembers that. They do still do that now, but I don't. I've realized the sanity of flat shoes, of wearing flat shoes. So anyway, we used to wear those shoes, and some were pencil heels, some were platform, block heels, all those kinds of heels were there. And we would go to parties and all that stuff, right? And then when you came back home and you took off those sandals, the relief, right? The relief that you get. It was like, home, sweet home. But you don't have to put on pretenses. You can be what you are. And so when same thing happens to them also, to the soul. So Prabhupada says in the purport that one who is not a pure devotee of Supreme Lord Krishna is not completely cleansed in the heart. And we see that even in the case of Narada, when he was doing meditation and Krishna shows him a little trailer, right, appears in the lotus of his heart. And he sees, and then Krishna disappears. And then he tries to do mechanical means of trying to find Krishna and bring him back again and make him appear through force in his heart. And he fails. And then Krishna speaks, doesn't appear, but just speaks. And so Narada hears his voice. And he says very gravely that, you'll never see me in this lifetime. And the reason was that he was not completely cleansed. He still had some, dirt there, or some material proclivities. So is not completely cleansed in the heart. That's what he's saying, Prabhupada. But a perfectly cleansed person never quits the devotional service of the Lord. Padamulam namunchati. In discharging such devotional service as ordered by Brahmaji to Narada in preaching Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's the duty that Narada's father, Brahmaji, has given him. You have to go and preach Bhagavatam to all over the universe, to people, right? So now Prabhupada is saying such a nice thing. And this is the rejoicing in the self that is talked about in today's verse, right? Here is Prabhupada is saying that when you're doing devotional service to the Lord, and he gives the example, for example, Narad Muni has been ordered by Brahmaji to preach Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And then so he preaches. So Narad Muni preaches, and so his job is to find any suitable candidates where he sees even a very small trace of the fact that these people could become my devotees. So he will just go and try to convert them into bhaktas. So we all know the story of Daksha, right? Daksha and Sati, right? So Sati is the wife of whom? Whose wife is Sati? Out with your pads, quickly give me an answer. Shiva. Okay, good. Yes, Asta and Archana. So Shiva, right? Sukumalati. So she's the wife of Shiva. And we know that Shiva is, he's kind of a renunciate, right? What does he wear? Although he's opulent, he lives in Kailash, which is very opulent. Where does he live? Mostly in the crematoriums. Because he's so kind-hearted that he wants to take care of the ghosts and the hobgoblins and goblins and witches and all that, right? He's so kind-hearted. And so he doesn't display a lot of opulence, but Sati knew the goodness of Shiva, and that's why she opted to marry him. Now, Daksha didn't like that. And Sati had, 8 other sisters. And so once they were all in and this Daksha keeps on doing karmakandi activities. So he'll have lots of yajnas, etc. And so Daksha is a progenitor, Prajapati. His job is to increase the population. And so he had invited all of them. And so Daksha, very beautiful, white, tall body, and with a lot of effulgence, he's a that level of a demigod. So he enters the arena and everybody stands up to respect him. And Shiva doesn't stand up. And Shiva didn't think of standing up because Shiva is the son-in-law. So son-in-law doesn't have to respect the father-in-law. And then, of course, Shiva was meditating on Lord Vishnu. He didn't get up. And Daksha got very angry. And to cut a long story short, there was a big fight that ensued there. And Daksha, made a lot of verbal abuses and talked him monkey-faced and things like that to Shiva. And so Shiva didn't respond or retaliate, but then he left. And after that, what Daksha started doing was to never invite Shiva to any of his other sacrifices that he did. And so Sati was living with her husband in Kailash. And then one day, Daksha again organized a big one. And so Sati is sitting in her place, and from there, in the heavenly planets, from there you can see what's happening outside. And so she sees another, planes going from one planet to another planet. You can see all that. So she sees that her sisters are wearing all nice kind of jewelry and everything is nice, and they are all going. So she says to Shiva that, let's go. And Shiva says that, no, you should not go where your husband is not respected. But Sati in her mind is actually thinking that I'm my father's dear daughter, favorite daughter. And there is some sort of misunderstanding between my father and my husband. Let's just go there and I'll try to convince my father that, there's some misunderstanding. Shiva is not bad, just accept him again. So she has that goodness in her heart. So she is pushing Shiva, and Shiva is saying, don't go. So she goes into another room, she's pacing back and forth, and she couldn't control herself, and she left. So as soon as she leaves there, then all Shiva's followers, they follow her there. And so she's very happy. She goes there to the arena. Her mother wishes her sisters start talking to her. And then the father completely ignores Sati. She completely ignores Sati, is not able to tolerate that part. And so she self-immolates through her mystic powers. She gives up her life. And when that happens, Shiva gets very angry. And a bigger fight ensues this time. And so Shiva, pulls out a hair from his head, dashes it into the ground, and a big demon appears there, Veerbhadra or something like that. And that demon comes and he takes up the chopper that was used to chop the animal in the sacrifice. He takes that and he chops off Daksha's head. And not only that, he takes that head and throws it into the sacrificial arena where it is burnt like that. So then, Brahmaji comes and, then they pacify, they go to Brahma, all this is happening. Brahma says, go and ask forgiveness from Shiva. So they all go to Shiva, ask for forgiveness. Shiva is, sweet and innocent, he forgives them. And then the yagya continues. And then it's like, oh, but Daksha is lying dead here without a head. What do we do? So what do they do? Another time that they pick up the chopper, they chop off the head of the sacrificial animal now, which is a goat. And they take the head of that animal and plank it on Daksha's thing, which shows that how advanced they were. We have to go through 16 hours of surgery or 18 hours, whatever, to do a heart transplant. And then we don't know, right? There, all those things were happening not through surgery. It's not they were very skilled surgeons and they were able to suture the goat's head to a human body, but they were using different mechanisms, totally different mechanisms to mantra and things like that. So Daksha then lives in the body of a goat. And now Daksha is the son of Brahma. And Daksha is the son of Brahma, and he's a Manasa Putra. Manasa Putra means that he was created from the mind of Brahma. No lady was involved in producing him. He doesn't go into the womb. So the Manas Putras, right, they are fortunate and lucky because they don't have to enter into a womb. If you want to know what happens inside the womb, you can read 3rd Canto, chapter 31, to understand what happens to the fetus. So if you're born from the mind of Brahma, you're very lucky. You won't go through the torture. And you are supposed to be having a superior birth. So he had such a superior birth. But because he had done so much of aparad, right? By ignoring Shiva, fighting, cursing, making her daughter die and things like that, Shiva's wife, right? So all those kind of things that he has done. So he had to undergo punishment for that. And the punishment for that was that he had to be born from the womb of a mother. So Daksha that we know with the goat head was ridiculed a lot also with the head of a goat. And then, of course, further ridicule happens that now you have to take a birth again through the womb of a mother. So it was a human mother. So again, he takes birth, and he's a progenitor. So his job is to produce a population. So he gets married, and he produces a large number of sons, like something to the tune of 10,000 or something, 60,000, something like that. And so then he tells his sons when they grow up that, hey, you are now supposed to go and procreate. And so the sons say, okay. So those are not the times like our times where you get married, go off to honeymoon and, enjoy and like that and produce children. If you had to produce children, you had to first undergo a lot of austerities, follow the proper Garbha Bandhan Samskar, and bring your consciousness to such a level where you would be thinking of Krishna, and then with those thoughts in mind, you would produce progeny, which would be, higher quality. So they go away to do tapasya to some part. So it was Daksha himself actually who said, you go to that place and you do. There was some mountain region in Gujarat area of India. So they all go there and they are doing penances and all that, and their Krishna consciousness is getting raised. And then Narad Muni, our preacher, who has been given this task by Brahma, and who's actually Daksha's brother, right? The Manasa Putra, Daksha's brother. So he happens to pass by and he looks at all of them, and then he starts preaching. And then he tells them that, oh, so you are trying to get into material life, and now there'll be a family, there'll be kids, and you need to get this, and you need to get that. So you'll have to do this Karam Kandi activity, that Karam Kandi activity. It's no good. In the end, you'll have to leave all that. So what is the fun in doing that? I think, you should just focus on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all those sons were at such a highly extreme level. They said, yes, you are right. So they all take sannyas and they go up to the Himalayas. And Daksha gets very angry, but he doesn't say anything. He goes and produces next time 1,000 sons. And then he tells to the son that go there and do the penances and you produce children. And Narad Muni again goes there. And Narad Muni says that, where your elder brothers went? Yeah. Can you tell me what is another word for younger brother? Parshana Mataji, what is another word for younger brother? Anuj. Right? So, and Varshana Mataji says Anuj, she can't forget it because her son is named Anuj. So, Anuj means one who follows. So your elder brothers went to the Himalayas, you are the Anuj. You should also follow. So they also go away there. So Daksha gets very angry. And there is a dialogue that happens between the two of them. And Daksha curses Narada and says, you will never stay in your home at one place. You will always be roaming. And that's why you see that Narad Muni is always going from one place to another place to another place to another place. Now, when you have these curses can happen to one person, can be given to one person and stays with that person and it's done. Curses can also be given to species of life. Like trees can have a curse. Women in general, all women can have a curse. So curses have got various levels and permutations and combinations in which they are effective and how long they live and the expiration date and things like that. So Narada has got this curse that he won't be able to stay in one place. And Prabhupada says in one of his purports, he says that because I am from Narada Sampradaya, right? Our Sampradaya, Brahma Gauriya Sampradaya has got Narada in it. So Narada's curse is going to, percolate, not going to percolate, percolated, and was applicable to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada also could not stay at his home, right? Despite everything which was there, that, you're sannyasi, you stay home, or you've got a wife needs to be taken care of, but he took sannyas. And then not only that, even after he was sannyas, he could not stay in India. He had to roam the world, come to America. And not only America, he had to go around the globe like 14 times or 12 times, something like that, right? He cannot stay in one place. And this was so interesting that, he was so much interested in translating all the books, but if you're traveling, how much can you translate, right? Because your time goes into travel. And so at one point he was heard to say that I wish that my students, who were all young at that time, right? I wish my students will take up this preaching work very seriously so that I can pass on this curse to them. And so don't be alarmed, like, Prabhupada passed on this curse to his disciple. What kind of a spiritual master is he? But when you have to look at the at the, the potency of that curse, right? I mean, yes, he was cursed. Yes, Narad Muni was cursed that he won't stay at home. Yes, Prabhupada has the curse that he can't stay at home. But look at the effect of that curse. Look at what that curse is actually doing, what the goodness it's bringing to so many people. So those curses, when these personalities give curses, then they always have a good side to that curse as well. So Prabhupada was saying that, once they start preaching, then I'll be able to sit down and, write the books there. So when people are doing devotional service and they are doing preaching, so you can see in the life of Prabhupada also that how difficult life was for him, and especially when he came here to America. Why is he doing it? Why? He went through so much of trials and tribulations. Why? Because he's rejoicing in the self. He's satisfied in the self. He's happy because he's doing it for Krishna. And so here, Prabhupada in the purport gives an example in discharging such devotional service as ordered by Brahmaji to Narada in preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he's doing his duty. And then Daksha goes and curses him. Of all the people, Daksha, cursing Narada. Imagine that. And Narada is so amazing that, he could have counter-cursed. He did not counter-curse. He just kept quiet. He could have walked away. He did not walk away. He still stays there with Daksha to be able to preach to him also. Ultimately, let his anger cool down, then I'll preach him some more. So when you have preaching in the every drop of your blood, then that is how you will behave. So in discharging of devotional service, sometimes the representative of the Lord engaged in preaching work meets with various so-called difficulties. So-called difficulties, he's saying, yeah, to others, they are difficulties, but look at his heart. Inside his heart, he's so very happy with that, what is happening. This was exhibited by Lord Nityananda when he delivered the two fallen souls, Jagai and Madhai, right? And similarly, Lord Jesus Christ was crucified by the non-believers. But such difficulties are very gladly suffered by the devotees in preaching, because in such activities, though apparently very severe, the devotees of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure because the Lord is satisfied. So somewhere the equation has changed from the fact that I want to do sakam karma, which is atmendriya priti, to satisfy my senses. I want to do anything and everything. Somewhere the equation has changed on the way of our climbing the yoga ladder. The equation has changed, and now it is that I want to do everything for Krishna. And when you do it, that's only that makes you happy. Are you doing things for Krishna or for Krishna's devotees? You only feel good. And it's so amazing that I was once shopping in the temple, and long time ago, it was the old temple. And there was this Mataji who came, and both of us chopped like 25 pounds of tomatoes very, very quickly in a very short period of time. And so then both of us were saying that we really enjoyed it, and this was such an enjoyable task. And so she said that on a Sunday, when she's cooking in the afternoon and the lunch, she's very tired, and she complains to her husband, and like, I'm very tired, I can't cook. And then she comes to the temple and she chops 25 pounds tomatoes in like that. And she's feeling happy also. But that is the difference, because when you do things for Krishna, you get happiness. And she says, yes, my husband will say that, during lunch you had backache. Your arms were swollen. You could not do this, you could not do that. And now you are, you are going through this. Yeah. And Asta is saying, Meeraji also suffered a lot. Yes, right? He gave up. It's very interesting that you bring that topic of Meera, because she was given a bowl of poison to drink, right? Vishka pyala, and she drinks it, right? So when you are a very high level of, when you are very highly advanced in devotional service, poison stops to have an effect on you. You have such an elevated platform. So you can give them as many cups of poison, nothing's going to happen to them. And same thing happened with Prahlad also, right? His father had thrown him in a pit of snakes, angry snakes, big snakes, right? But he was just sitting there and he was chanting the names of the Lord. Why? Because he's at that level. So, and that is what it means by apparent suffering. That is what Prabhupada says, is apparent service that you're doing, right? So, although apparently very severe, the devotees of the Lord feel transcendental pleasure because the Lord is satisfied. Prahlad Maharaj, there you go, suffered greatly, but still he never forgot the lotus feet of the Lord. This is because a pure devotee of the Lord is so purified in the heart. Dhautatma Purusha Krishna. Dhautatma, dhona, dhona, dhul gaya usko, high power washing machine में डाल के heart को, right? धो दिया. चेतो धर्मणा marjanam हो गया उसका बढ़िया, vim से साफ कराया. There is no self-interested, is so purified in heart that he cannot leave the shelter of the Lord Krishna in any circumstances. Padamulam nashmunchati, will not leave his lotus feet because that is where he finds the shelter of the Lord. The progress, there is no self-interest in such service. This is very important. There's no self-interest. Small s means for me. There's no such self-interest. The progress of culturing knowledge by the jnanis or the bodily gymnastics by the yogis are ultimately given up by the prospective performers. They will be given up. But a devotee of the Lord cannot give up the service of the Lord, for he is ordered by his spiritual master. Pure devotees like Narada and Nityananda Prabhu take up the order of the spiritual master as the sustenance of life. And one who takes the order of the spiritual master, so one who has, faith, unflinching faith in the orders of the spiritual master, only to such a person are the imports of the Vedic knowledge revealed. So for us to be able to understand what the Shastras are telling us and go into the deeper meanings of that, we have to first, have a spiritual master, serve the spiritual master, and have faith in the spiritual master. That is very, very important. Adau Shraddha, faith is required. They do not mind what becomes of the future of their lives. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur looked at Srila Prabhupada and said, you should preach to the Western world. And that's it. One sentence he spoke at a time when he was not even his disciple. But that word stuck his mind for many, many decades. And all that he was thinking throughout his life, which we always say a life of preparation, and all that he was thinking was, how can I serve the instructions of my spiritual master? And obviously, when you are in such a bad health situation and you jump onto a merchant navy ship, you are at a situation where you're saying, I don't mind what becomes of the future of their lives. I'm coming to a country where I don't even understand the people there. I have no money with me. I have no idea. They don't even understand the philosophy. I don't even know whether they need to take my philosophy, but he did, because he didn't care. And all that he was thinking was the instruction of his spiritual master. They take the matter very seriously as the order comes from a higher authority, from the representative of the Lord, or from the Lord himself, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Nityananda. The example set herein is very appropriate. A traveler leaves home to search for wealth in far distant places, sometimes in the forest and sometimes on the ocean and sometimes on hilltops. Certainly there are many troubles for the traveler when he is in such unknown places, but all such troubles are at once mitigated as soon as the sense of his family affection is remembered. And as soon as he returns home, he forgets all such troubles on the way. So a person is working really, really hard. And at the back of the mind, he's thinking of his daughter and he's saying, I'm working so hard to save the money. And when the day she gets married and she's decked up as a beautiful bride, and I will use this money to buy her beautiful jewelry. So when you're thinking that remembrance, that affection and that love, when you remember the love that you have for the daughter, then all the hard mundane chores that you're doing, they don't, trouble you at all. You happily do it. So similarly, when we remember our lost relationship with God Krishna, then we become like this person who is going to, do anything and everything. And as soon as he returns home, so that's why sometimes we complain that, how many millions of lives have I? This Krishna is so bad. He's punishing us so badly. I mean, millions of lives, are you saying? Couldn't have just done it in one life and gone back? So we blame it on Krishna. The problem is not Krishna. The problem is the reason we are staying in this material world, upariya, ada, top and bottom. top and bottom. Shine punya martalokam vishanti. Why are we doing that over and over again? Because of our desires. We have desires. We want, sakam karma. So, okay, do it then. So, Krishna is not to be blamed if it is taking such a long time. But, and what about austerities that we do? Ekadashi vrat, this vrat, that vrat, 4 regulative principles. They are all austerities, right? They can be severe. However, once you reach home, once you go back to Godhead, all that will be forgotten. And when you're looking at the eternal spectrum, even 6 million lifetimes will be a very short period of time for us. A pure devotee of the Lord is exactly in a family tie with the Lord, and therefore he is undeterred in discharging his duty in a full affectionate tie with the Lord. So why? Because he has developed prema. So there's affection there. Because we do duty all the time, right? From morning till evening, we do duty. There's no affection there at all. You don't care, right? But when you're doing it for Krishna, because of the love tie, you want to do that, right? So here, such a Krishna conscious person, back to our verse from today, such a Krishna conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, women, and similar infatuations. All that he wants to do is padamulam, padamulam, padamulam namuchati. Okay. So I will stop the call here and open it up for you to ask any questions, share any reflections. You can also raise your hands so that I know the order in which you have raised your hands. And Vaishana Mataji was limbo on her fingers and she has raised her hand. So let's see what she has to tell us here.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for the very nice explanation and from Srimad Bhagavatam. Mataji, when I read this, you have explained it, but I may not have understood it properly. So I just want to clarify it. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, now here the self is Krishna?
Yes, uppercase S. The S is the big letter, capital S, right? It starts with capital S.
Here it is not capital S. That is why I'm saying.
Where, which one?
The first one, translation. Actually, okay, Mataji. In Bhagavad-gita, printed one doesn't have. So my confusion is over, Mataji. Thank you so much.
All right. You're like Arjuna in the 18th chapter. All his confusions were over.
No, Mataji, not all.
That's a good mood. That's a good spirit to have. That's a good mood to have. Okay, anybody else has anything to say, share, any word that you like, any questions that you have, any questions that you are phrasing? And we have quite a good attendance today. Varchana, Archana, Aruni, Astha is here, Namazya, Sadhana, Simi Mataji, Sukomal, Sutapa, Vindyavali, and Viravabhav.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Astha here.
Yes, Astha.
Very nice class, Mataji. Thank you so much. So Mataji, my question is related to the last line of this page, where it has been said that the material arrangement doesn't take pleasure in the material arrangement like wine, women, and similar infatuations. Mataji, I've been reading a lot of things and the script. Most of our scriptures, it seems like they have been instructed to the men of the society, because most of the time the man is like the listener. That's why there are written language in this format where the women is nothing has been written for the women, or not. It's only that women are most of the time has been used as negative connotation rather than a positive influence into the society. I don't know, I feel like this when I read something where it says lower class born like women, lower class thing like women, or something women, or things like that. So I'm just confused at why the scriptures has been mostly giving instructions to the men, not the women at the same time when the both are same, like Shiv and Shakti, Radha Krishna.
So recently we had on Fridays, right, where I teach the Srimad Bhagavatam, and there was a Srimad Bhagavatam, and of all the places we are doing Kunti Maharani's prayers. And I would encourage you to listen to one of them, one of my lectures on one of them, and I think I'm just trying to bring that verse up here. Verse number 20. Yeah, and let me share that with you. So Kunti Maharani is praying to Lord Krishna, and I would highly recommend that, if you have time, listen to all my lectures, 18, 19, 20, 21, because all that I'm doing is glorifying women and Kunti Maharani there, and explaining why when women are, positioned or talked about in a sort of lower manner, what exactly does it mean? Which type of women does it mean? Actually, just last week also on Saturday, I was saying that. So here Kunti is saying, Tatha Paramahamsana Muninam Amalatmanam Bhakti Yoga Vidhanartam Katham Paschema Hi Striyaha. Again, Striya has come here. And she's saying, you yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service unto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators who are purified by being able to distinguish between matter and spirit. How then can we women know you perfectly? So when she's saying things like that, right? Then she's not. This is her humility, because if you read the verses that she says, the 2 verses that she says prior to this, they're heavy in philosophy, and all the verses that she's going to talk after that are very heavy in philosophy. It's just that it is her nature to be humble, and that's why she's saying that, right? And to give a short answer to your question, I would highly encourage you to listen to those lectures, because Sadhana Mataji had asked that question, right? And because it takes a long answer. I think I talked for 30 minutes that day explaining that. But one thing that I would again tell you is that yuga to yuga, things are going to be different, right? So in the previous yugas, the man was the householder of the family, and they were taking care of the women. And there was a certain structure and the order of the society. The women would take care of the house, and her. And because of the nature, general qualities of the women, they are good at it. So the idea was that whoever is good at that, you give them that work. And that's what managers also do, right? Somebody just likes to talk, okay, put them in sales, put them in a customer-facing thing. Somebody is scared of talking to customers, but like to sit back behind a machine. Nobody doesn't want to talk to anybody. Okay, give him some software development work. He'll be happy there. So we always, associate and give the work to the appropriate and the right person to do it. So, that is there was a division of labor at the home, but the equation there is that if a wife is serving a husband who is pursuing devotional service, then she gets the credit. She gets half the credit. She will go with her husband back to God. She doesn't have to do anything. So I would say that for women they have been lenient, but that doesn't mean that even in those ages, the women who pursue devotional service were not there. And talking about women serving their husband, people then extract that and say, okay, there in the Shastras, it says women must serve a husband. I'm your husband, serve me, like that. No, they're talking about husbands who are devotees of the Lord, who are spending their life in devotional service. A woman is supposed to serve for him. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is a very strong story that comes there, where there was a man who blasphemed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that man's wife's mother, right? So this man is the son-in-law. So the wife's who is blaspheming. So then the wife says, the mother says, the mother-in-law of this man who was blaspheming Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the mother-in-law curses him to die. Can you imagine a mother cursing the son-in-law to die? What's going to become to her daughter? She's going to become a widow, right? But the message that is being sent across there is no point in you even living with a husband who is not, who is blaspheming the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you are strong enough, and if the age and the time is 500 years ago when this thing happened, then, it's fine. But nowadays, there's further degradation and, things like that. So, but look at, and women are put at the same level. So when women are same as men, and they are, on a material level and on a material intellect, they are same. In fact, they could even be better. Like if you look at the school passing rate and things like that, women, girls get more marks, more girls pass during an exam and things like that, right? And nowadays, you find women even in high positions in their CEOs and, those kind of C-level, C-band executives. So they are all there. So here, when they are talking about in a derogatory manner, they are talking about that when a soul is in a body of a woman having a consciousness of that of a woman. So what is a consciousness? General, and this is a general statement, not applicable to you and not applicable to any of the ladies who are in this class today, right? This is a general there's a general tendency for ladies to think about their home, their children, me, mine, and mine, like that. Okay? And if you look at ISKCON, and if you, especially Asta, if you look at ISKCON of Silicon Valley, and there, the bigger positions are all held by women there. Book distribution headed by Malini Mataji. Bhagavad Seva and the school is run by, Sukeshwari Mataji. Kids Sankirtan is taken care by, Araseshwari, Kameshwari Mataji. Right? Events director, Hansapriya Mataji. They're all Matajis. And ISKCON, it's in ISKCON temples that you see a woman can climb on the altar and, dress the deities and also perform. Dressing the deities, maybe they might do in other places also, because it's a matter of putting on a sari and women do it nicely. But they also do worship. They're allowed to do arti. In fact, that's on our Sunday feast when a majority of the people come to our temple, like 300, 350, 400 in some days. There will be some Mataji on the altar, so which is, so Prabhupada took, but he gave full freedom to women also to do it, because this is Kali Yuga. Where are the good men? They're gone. They were left behind like that. So as that short answer to your question, but deep, and I'm glad you asked that question, because you need to get that right. When reading the scriptures, you should not feel bad about it, because when you say I'm a woman, then you're thinking about the body and you are the soul. And so just read, especially 1.8.20. It'll be on my Facebook page. Listen to the lecture towards the last part of it there. Okay. Sukumal Radhe Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Shraddha Mataji. For today's verse, I was just wondering the last line where it says that for him there is no duty. So what exactly, which duty and what duty does it mean?
Yeah, yes. And it's a very nice question that you ask, and it'll get elaborated over the next 10 or 12 or 13 or 14 verses. But here what they're saying is that if you have reached the level of Krishna consciousness, such a high level, that you are saying that, who am I? I am a servant of Krishna. I'm no longer Nathuram, who's the wife of, Kamilini Devi or something like that, or I'm the father of this and father of that. So you have now realized that, you are not this body at all. And you are, even if you're a soul, then you are a servant of the Lord. That's all that you have to do. So now, if you don't have to do your duty, if you don't even, do your chanting, if you don't even do your Gayatri, it's all fine for them. All that you do is that you're serving Krishna. I'm cooking, and in that process, because now your mood and your consciousness is very, very different, right? But in the subsequent verses, Krishna will explain to Arjuna. Krishna will explain to Arjuna that why somebody should still do their duty. Why they should still do it. And that's why some people say that in the Bhagavad-gita talks about duty. So when Bhagavad-gita talks about duty, they're not just talking about duty like, I'm a man, I have to be a good man, I have to work hard, earn money, and take care of my family. Then I am a good man. Fine, but you have to become a great man. You have to become a servant of the Lord. Because if you become that, if this becomes a habit with him to think that, I'm done as long as I'm taking care of the family, then it's not good. But if he gets raised to a higher level platform where he now knows that I am a servant of the Lord, and look at the benefit that person will do to his generations, the real benefit to his children, what he'll do. There's 21 generations this side and 21 generations which is before, and 21 generations after it. For them, liberation will become, will be made easier, and they will be put in a conducive environment where they will be able to do these devotional services in a nice manner. So that is a much better thing that he's doing. by doing that, right? But that's a very high level of thing. And Asta Mataji, please don't feel bad about it or having asked that question. I get asked that question every now and then. But recently I have talked a lot about Queen Kunti and being a lady and how, and pointed out the subtle things in these verses. In fact, something as simple as Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devi Vinayaka. Just such a simple words, but what deep meanings Kunti Maharani is conveying through those verses. When you listen to that, actually, Asta, you'll be proud to be a woman because you belong to Kunti's tribe, right? Like that.
But also, Shraddha Mataji, in that verse, it also says that even though women did not think like philosophers, they were especially blessed by the Lord because of their faith, unwavering faith in the Lord, and He blessed them even more than the men.
There you go. Exactly. Thank you for reminding. Yes. So we belong to the blessed one, the blessed society. Yeah. Yeah. The blessed.
And Madhuri,
So
once you mentioned, Madhuri, yes, Madhuri, once you mentioned that there is only one Purusha, that is Lord Krishna. Rest is they are just wearing the dress of a Purusha. They are actually not Purusha.
Yes. Very right. Yes.
Yes. Actually,
so what
I
is
also
that to feel? Exactly. There's nothing for us to feel bad about it.
Yes,
I mean, if I'm told that you are a woman, okay, I was thinking like that since I was born that I'm a woman. That's fine, and that that Krishna is my pati or my protector. Fine, very good. What about the patis in this world who are thinking that they are the patis and they are taking care of the wife and the children? What an ego puncture it is for them to realize that they are not the patis. Actually, Krishna is the pati. So for us, life is good. The scriptures are actually supportive.
And they also accept that the Lord is so superior, and they offer their obeisances without any reservation, women. They have no ego. So that's why He blesses them actually more. That's what I think that verse had said.
Thank you. And then memory, fine speech, fame. Right? In Bhagavad-gita, he says that. Yeah. Okay, good. Archana. So, Kumal, your head is taken care of, right?
I'll take it out.
Okay, Archana.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Very nice discourse, Mataji, as always. I don't have any question, but just I want to share reflections. Like, I really like the elaboration of, Srimad Bhagavatam Katha, which you mentioned about Daksha. I was not knowing about detailed version of this Katha. Only the, little bit I knew, but thank you so much for elaborating that. And I really liked the specific point which you said about like why Daksha he was cursed by the no, he did not he cursed Narad Muni, and Narad Muni, because he was such an exalted devotee of the Lord, he because he knew his which is what is mentioned in this chapter, in this purport also, like if you know your eternal position, and he was told by Brahmaji to preach Srimad Bhagavatam to the everyone in the world. And even though he was cursed, he maintained his calm, and he was feeling like when Daksha will be calm, and then he can preach to him also Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's really nice. I mean, it's very inspiring. Even though you are cursed,
that person is a dhira. This is what it means, dhir. Dhir means despite all the provocations, you will still maintain your calm. It's very important. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, this one, and what Daksha did was wrong. He did a Vaishnava aparad, and that's why he suffered. So one Vaishnava is, Daksha, though he was Prajapati, he fell down, and he cursed. He was doing a Vaishnava aparad to Shiva, and another Vaishnava, who is Narada Muni, he was being cursed. He was still maintaining the exalted position of a pure Vaishnava, and he was still ready to preach him. So that was brilliant, Mataji. I really liked it. Thank you so much.
Old habits die hard, right? First he said bad things to Shiva, and now in this life he's saying bad things to Narada. So you see how samskaras are deeply etched. It takes a very, very long time for them to go away. And so, how will they go away? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And that's why it's very important to avoid Vaishnava aparadhas. There's nothing worse than Vaishnava aparadha. Your whole life can be just completely, utha patak, that's how they say, topsy-turvy, can go topsy-turvy by performing Vaishnava aparadha. So that's why we always say, Vancha kalpa trubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you so much, dear Vaishnavas. So we'll meet again on Thursday now. Okay? So tomorrow is Thursday.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so much,
Shraddha
Mataji.
Thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you very much,
Krishna
Mataji.
Mataji.
I enjoyed that. I enjoyed.
Enjoyed it. Well, enjoyed having you here.